So this is the week of Anahata. I thought I'd talk about something that's close to my heart for today's discussion. So I came across a poem that I thought was very beautiful. So let me share that. Oh, I can't share my screen. Never mind. I'll send this on WhatsApp on the group. This is a poem by Swami Vivekananda, and it's called Kali the Mother. And it's a poem that inspired a lot of freedom movement, at the time. But I'll read the poem and then I want to share some thoughts around it and get into our topic of discussion for today. The stars are blotted out. The clouds are covering clouds. It is darkness, vibrant sonnet. In the roaring, whirling wind are the souls of a million lunatics, just loosed from the prison house, wrenching trees by the roots, sweeping all from the path. The sea has joined the fray and swirls up mountain waves. To reach the pitchy sky, the flash of lurid light reveals on every side 1,000 shades of death, begrimed and black, scattering plagues and sorrows, dancing mad with joy. Come, mother, come, for terror is thy name, death is in thy breath, and every shaking step destroys a world forever. Thou time, the all-destroyer, come, O mother, come. When I first read this poem, I was thinking, why is Swamiji so excited about something so dark? I just felt like this was so dark, honestly, when I read it. I kept reading it a couple of times, and what occurred to me was it's less about the physical world that he's describing, the darkness that overcomes, and how Mother Kali is destroying it, and how he is so inspired and excited by it. I was thinking about the darkness more on a mental and awareness level, right? It's less about the physical world. Maybe he's talking about the inner darkness, the avidya, the ignorance that we all have, the world of ignorance that we live in, that she comes to destroy. So he's inviting her to come and destroy that so that we can come into awareness. It really resonated with me as, I'm doing my sadhana, and I thought today we can spend some time talking about the para and apara vidya of anything. So any topic that we, talk about, or anything we do in life, any type of learning, there's two sides to it. One is the apara vidya, which is the objective knowledge, which is the technical knowledge, if you will, or what we know, what we see about it in the real world. And the other is the paravidya. What is the higher knowledge associated with it? So an example I would use is Vedic astrology. Most astrologers, when we go to them, sometimes we only hear the aparavidya. The Guru is here, the Saturn, Shani is here, this is here, that is here, all these planets are here. That is the technical knowledge of how these planets are placed. That's great. But what is the higher purpose? What is the higher meaning of all of this? What does it mean to us? Like, is Shani really that bad? Every time I go to a Navagraha, I see Shani is the only one who'll have money, fruits, nice clothes, everything. All the devotees are usually just giving him all the offerings. Please take away these problems from my life. So what is the, deeper meaning of Shani? Shani Bhagavan, he is there. He's a disciplinarian. He gives us these tough times for us to learn, for us to grow spiritually. That is, for example, a deeper meaning. So all that to say, everything we do has two aspects, a para and an apara aspect to it. And what I wanted to maybe spend a few minutes today is talking about how we take our day-to-day actions, how we do take our own life and look for the para aspect in what we do. So how do we divinize our actions, whether it is going to work or doing something at home for a family member, or even like doing your own spiritual sadhana. Sometimes it becomes monotonous, but how do we continue to engage in the para aspect of it? And the one thing that really struck me about that, constantly drawing the connection to that higher self or that higher awareness. So even showing up to work, some people do it because it's a paycheck. Some people do it because, you know what, I'm motivated by it. I have a very self centered reason for my own career growth, or something I want to achieve, so I show up to work, which is valid. But then the next level is almost a divinized form of it, where when you're doing something, you're doing it unselfish, in a way that's unselfish, where you have a greater good in mind as you do things. So that's just an example. It's very abstract when we have to apply it in real life, especially when we're interacting with the world out there. It's not always a black and white answer, but essentially anything and everything we do, all of our karmas or kriyas that we do in our world, how do we divinize them so that we get the most out of it, and we in return are contributing the most to our communities, to our families, to our societies, to our workplace, to our countries. I think those are things to really reflect on. With that, what I'd love to hear from the group are one, comments around how you see your day-to-day interactions, opportunities to divinize that, and how you've perhaps gone about doing it, and also where you think the roadblocks are, because there are roadblocks. It's not always, like I said, a straightforward answer.
So I find roadblock at my workplace with the younger generation. I try to break it by repeatedly trying to resolve it, talking to them. But I feel this younger generation have different thought process. So I sometimes find it very hard to take out that negativity and bring more positivity. It was yesterday, my recent, we had a Christmas event. Don't agree what they want, and then they show up their attitudes and all. That's what I think I face sometimes.
Just in terms of like ways of working and coexisting with people who have different approaches to doing things. And that's very valid, because I think it's hard in that situation, especially when you have responsibilities, accountabilities, to look at things and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to step back and let this unfold, etc., etc., especially at the workplace. And the new generation, as we talk about, I mean, I've felt that too, because folks who come in to just enter the workplace have really spent very little time. They're just coming in, and their goals are different. And to be honest, the world is also changing, so I have found that I sometimes have to adapt to how their expectations are, because we all come in with a certain conditioning, and we talked about it last time as well. All of us, any situation we come into is a product of our own conditioning. So not saying that you need to change that conditioning, but even coming into a conversation or situation with an awareness about it, that, hey, you know what, I have my own biases. That's okay. I'm going to stick with it, but I'm aware that I have my own biases, and I'm going to enter this conversation or this space with you. And I know you have your own biases too, and you're coming to the table with the same thing. So I think it's really bringing up that level of awareness, and that's a very real challenge. Some of these discussions, like how do we make it real in our day-to-day lives and bring that aspect of awareness and sadhana into what we do?
Learned through this yoga, meditation, and all the classes is during the discussion, I'm cool, I'm calm.
Everyone has a different evolution path, because I know a lot of young people. I help coach middle schoolers who are doing Gita lessons. Like I've just started doing this, and I was in a Zoom call the other day. They were running the meeting, and let me tell you, I could not tell the difference between me talking to my coworker in a workplace and them talking to their friend, middle school friend, on Zoom. The way they were conducting it was so professional, so mature. I was blown away. And these kids were 12 or 13 years old, where they were talking about responding and not reacting to a situation. So they're putting together a PowerPoint to explain to their parents what they've learned in class, to say, hey, we learned we need to think, we need to pause, we need to think, and we need to respond, not react. So they were just having this conversation, and I was just watching it, and it was a goosebumps moment for me. I was like, at 12, 13, I definitely was nowhere close. So there's varying, like we're seeing, the generations like change so much, right? And sometimes through work and these interactions, when we see each other, we all see the tip of the iceberg. That's what we see with each other. who we really are is never really shown until it's our spouses, right? The lovely spouses who are here doing yoga together. Like, you all know, like, our loved ones know who we are. And sometimes even that is hard. But everything we see is just the top 1% of a person. So there's so many, the path of evolution is so different because each of us, when we take birth, it is influenced by, our previous karma and all of that. So someone who could be meditating all their life may still have a long way to go. Whereas we have the great, youngsters who are born with such level of awareness that they're closer to the goal. So yeah, it really depends.
From my side, I'm still very new to this whole spiritual thing because as a kid or as a young person, like we know that we need not to harm anybody and do whatever is right, but we're never able to relate it to ourself or the spirituality. I would say still I'm just started learning about it. Knowledge is important when you start relating that one, which we never realized earlier. I personally never realized, to be honest. Like, although like my mother was very spiritual, but could never connect it to it. As early as possible, if you can connect to that one, I think you can improve. But reincarnation, all these things, we used to think, yeah, these are the things which, as a part of Sanatan Dharma, is how we can connect to this overall. I was completely ignorant, to be honest. So it's for me, it's still new to this whole process.
That is what we say, nature versus nurture. Nature you're born with. There still has to be a nurture aspect that we do as parents, as relatives, as neighbors, where we help our younger generation come up. We still have to do the nurture, and that plays a very, very big role. It can change somebody's life completely. Absolutely can change somebody's life. So the concept of responding and even the concept of detachment, the way I have seen kids talk about it also, is more around, don't let it define you. Don't let just one thing define you. You are more than that. When you're taught that at an early age, there's a lot of traps you can avoid, I think, growing up, because we tend to fall into those, especially 17 to 20, 21 years old, like the formative years, because we're building our identity. And that is bringing the bara aspect of things to children and into our ways of life when we teach to incorporate that.
All my life, majority, I was a follower because I was taught that way. Just follow and you follow. So I followed for, I don't know, till the last few years. I think I learned a lot from parenting, becoming a parent and my kids being raised here and they challenging me because I am raising the way my parents raised me, but in a way that I don't want to do the things I didn't want it to do. So I'm not doing that. But then when the kids challenged me and that connection of complexity came, and then it made me question, and then I'm like, questioning myself. And this is the reason I'm like, with the yoga and all the spiritual path, I see so much power, and I can see that actually I don't need proof from other people. I just need to calm myself down and really think, and I can come up with good solutions. It doesn't happen all the time. I would like to be in that situation all the time, but that's the journey right now I'm in.
I think having children is like a second birth, is like a redefinition of who we are. We as people grow and evolve when we have kids. I feel the same way. When I tell them something and they question me and they talk back, sometimes I'm like, yeah, I like that you're challenging. You're 3 years old. Please, sure, I don't mind it. Challenge me, because for the longest time I was the obedient girl, especially growing up in India like that. Sometimes it's misconstrued to understanding. It's an evolution on its own. And it's a great reminder. Sadhana and the practice we're doing is a great reminder for us to keep bringing that higher awareness of who we are in. And then you don't need any other validation.
I've been able to take the responsibility, like the response and ability for many things. Even like, say, for example, I'm cooking something or making something. I've always been very, like, I spend a lot of time in it. I put a lot of love in it. I'm not rushing through anything. If there is a problem and needs to be solved, I'll bring people in and I'll find solution. I have started to think about everything as like what needs to get done here, and whether it's me or XYZ, we have to get it done. And what's worth doing is worth doing well. And that's basically has been my mantra. my mind comes in the way sometimes. It's like, oh, sometimes you think about rewards also, like, okay, I'm not getting rewarded for everything I'm doing. But actually, I think you reward yourself by saying, wow, I did this really well. And I feel like I'm just falling in love with myself more and more, because I feel like, wow, I'm doing this really well. So,
Oh, beautiful. Coming into your own self is a journey on its own, and you drop all these validations that you need, and you are the only validation. It's a sense of calming and groundness that is very hard to describe through words. I think it's very hard to, but once you're there, it's like, what have I been doing all these years? This is good. This is comfortable. This is warm and cozy on a nice winter night. That's how it feels, right? So, no, beautiful. With that, we'll end today's class. Thank you all so much.